Think about the last person who cost you something. Not an enemy. Most people never acquire one of those. I mean the person who left you slightly worse than they found you, over a period of years, without ever doing one single thing you could point at. And when you tried to explain it to somebody else, you could not. Every individual example sounded petty. He was only being honest. She was only being fair. They were only trying to help. Said out loud, your complaint made you sound like the difficult one, so you stopped saying it, and carried on having lunch with them. Nietzsche wrote a book in 1883 made of very short chapters. 6 of them are portraits. 6 chapters that do nothing except describe a kind of person until you recognize somebody. I want to be accurate here, because the title of this video is doing a little work. Nietzsche never wrote a list. He wrote 6 separate chapters, in 2 different parts of the book, and one of them holds 2 of the 6. Putting them side by side is my arrangement, not his. But the word is his. It sits in the chapter about the tarantulas, and it is not an observation. It is an instruction. But thus do I counsel you, my friends, distrust all in whom the impulse to punish is powerful. 6 chapters. 6 people. Described so precisely that you can identify them at a dinner table 140 years later. Start with the one who cannot let anything happen unwitnessed. You told them something once. Quietly, in a kitchen, at the end of an evening, the sort of thing you only say when there are 2 people left in the room. For weeks later you heard it again at a table of 9, told better than you told it, with a laugh at the end that you had not put there. They were not being cruel. Watch the face while it happens. They are enjoying themselves, and part of what they're enjoying is that it came from you. You are the source, and being close to the source is the whole point of the story. Nietzsche calls this chapter The Flies in the Marketplace, and he opens it with a line about geography rather than character. Where solitude endeth, there beginneth the marketplace, and where the marketplace beginneth, there beginneth also the noise of the great actors, and the buzzing of the poison flies. Where solitude ends. That is not a line between good people and bad people. It is the line between the places where a thing can happen unobserved and the places where it cannot. This person lives entirely on one side of it. Nothing that happens to them is finished until it has been told to somebody. And nothing that happens to you is finished either. Here is the detail that makes this chapter better than it first looks. Nietzsche does not say these people attack you. He says they praise you. They buzz around thee also with their praise. Obtrusiveness is their praise. They want to be close to thy skin and thy blood. You have felt this and never had a word for it. Praise that arrives slightly too warm and slightly too early. Praise delivered at a volume that makes the room look over. Praise that somehow leaves you owing something, although nothing was actually given. And then the line that explains why there is no defense against it. They punish thee for all thy virtues. They pardon thee in their inmost hearts only, for thine errors. Read that the right way round. Your mistakes are what make you tolerable. Your good months are the offense. That is why the friendship is easiest when you are struggling, and strangely cool in the season when something finally goes well for you. The recognition sign is volume. This person is warmer in a group than they are alone with you, and it is a noticeably different person at 4 people than at 2. And Nietzsche is careful about how the damage arrives. Thou art not stone, but already hast thou become hollow by the numerous drops. Not one wound. Drops. The second one arrives the moment you say a plan out loud. You mention the course, or the move, or the business, or the person you have started seeing. You mention it lightly, because it is early. And they lean back and tell you about somebody they knew who did exactly that. It did not work out. There is always a specific detail, the savings, the divorce, the year that got away. The story is told kindly, very often with genuine affection for you. And you notice, walking home, that the plan has gone slightly grey. Nietzsche gave these people a chapter with a title that sounds far too strong until you read it. The Preachers of Death. Then it is simply exact. There are the spiritually consumptive ones, hardly are they born when they begin to die, and long for doctrines of lassitude and renunciation. Doctrines of lassitude. Not despair. Despair is loud, and everybody can see it coming. A doctrine is calm. A doctrine explains things. A doctrine can be repeated at a dinner party without making anybody uncomfortable. Then he shows you the method, and it is the smallest observation in the chapter. They meet an invalid, or an old man, or a corpse, and immediately they say, life is refuted. One case. One example. A general conclusion about existence itself. But they only are refuted, and their eye, which seeth only one aspect of existence. I want to be careful here, because this is the type most easily misused. Sometimes the warning is correct. Sometimes the person telling you it will not work has done the thing, and knows, and is trying to save you 2 years of your life. That is not a preacher of death. That is a witness. There is a way to tell them apart, and it has nothing to do with the mood of the conversation. A witness is specific. They tell you which part fails, and roughly when, and what they would do differently now. The conversation opens. The other one is general. Nothing really works. People are like that. That is just how it goes. And the conversation closes, gently, and you both move on to the weather. Then Nietzsche does something unexpected. He turns to the opposite sort of person, the one nobody would ever accuse of giving up, and files them under the same heading. All ye to whom rough labour is dear, and the rapid, new, and strange, ye put up with yourselves badly, your diligence is flight, and the will to self-forgetfulness. Your diligence is flight. That is the friend who never stops. Every hour committed, every weekend booked, and the sentence they say most often is that they are absolutely shattered. If ye believed more in life, then would ye devote yourselves less to the momentary. But for waiting, ye have not enough of capacity in you, nor even for idling. The recognition sign works on both. Ask what they are aiming at. The resigned one will tell you nothing is worth aiming at. The busy one will tell you they are far too busy to think about it. Every group has one, and every group is grateful for them at the beginning. They are the person who notices unfairness. At work they are the one who says out loud that the credit went to the wrong desk. In a friendship group they are the one who defends whoever is not in the room. You like them immediately. Everybody does. Standing next to someone with a strong sense of justice feels like standing somewhere safe. Then you notice the pattern. There is always a case open. When one is resolved, another begins within a fortnight. And the resolution never seems to be the point. The case is the point. Nietzsche's chapter is called the Tarantulas, and he speaks to the spider directly. Revenge is in thy soul, wherever thou bitest, there arreseth black scab, with revenge, thy poison maketh the soul giddy. Giddy is the word to hold on to. Not bitter. Not cold. Light-headed. Slightly elated. You have seen exactly that. Somebody forwarding you the message, the screenshot, the thing that was said in the meeting, and underneath the outrage, unmistakably, a very good mood. Therefore do I tear at your web, that your rage may lure you out of your den of lies. Here is the sentence that gives the chapter its edge. In all their lamentation soundeth vengeance, in all their eulogies is maleficence, and being judged seemeth to them bliss. Being judged seemeth to them bliss. Not being right. Not the wrong thing getting fixed. The act of judging itself, the moment of the verdict, the particular pleasure of handing one down. And then the instruction, the only place across these 6 chapters where Nietzsche says plainly what to do about a person. But thus do I counsel you, my friends, distrust all in whom the impulse to punish is powerful. Distrust all those who talk much of their justice. Verily, in their souls not only honey is lacking. I want to be careful here, because this is the easiest of the 6 to turn into something ugly. He is not saying injustice is imaginary, and he is not defending whoever happens to be holding the power. Read the chapter properly and you find him arguing with these people about equality, which is a separate argument, and one that many reasonable people will not follow him into. What survives is narrower. It is about the appetite. There is a way of caring about fairness that wants the wrong put right, and there is a way that wants somebody punished, and they are not the same hunger even when they use the same words. The recognition sign is a test you can run in one sentence. Offer a solution that repairs the harm and spares the person. Then watch the face. If the good mood leaves the room, you have your answer. The fourth one is the hardest to say out loud, because saying it sounds ungrateful. There is somebody who was extraordinary when your life came apart. They drove over. They sat up. They were better in that fortnight than anyone else you knew, and I am not going to pretend that counts for nothing, because it does not. And then you got better. And something cooled. Not a falling out, there was never anything to argue about. The calls got shorter. The warmth moved somewhere else. And about 8 months later you heard they were being magnificent to somebody else who was going through it. Nietzsche's chapter is called The Pitiful, and his objection is not the one you would expect. Verily, I like them not, the merciful ones, whose bliss is in their pity, too destitute are they of bashfulness. Whose bliss is in their pity? There is that structure again, the same one he used on the Tarantulas. Something in this is being enjoyed. And the thing he says is missing is shame. Not shame in front of you, shame on your behalf. The instinct that makes a decent person look away for a second. For in seeing the sufferer suffering, thereof was I ashamed on account of his shame, and in helping him, sorely did I wound his pride. Then comes the line I would put in front of anybody who has ever wondered why a particular kindness still sits badly with them years afterwards. Great obligations do not make grateful, but revengeful, and when a small kindness is not forgotten, it becometh a gnawing worm. When a small kindness is not forgotten, by whom is left open, and that is the craft of the sentence. It runs both ways. The one who cannot forget receiving it, and the one who cannot stop remembering that they gave it. It is never presented as a debt. It comes out as a story, told about you, in front of other people, in a very warm voice. He was in a bad way that winter. She really was not well at all, poor thing. Nothing in it is false. All of it is yours. And it is being spent. Nietzsche's own response is almost comically severe. Therefore do I wash the hand that hath helped the sufferer, therefore do I wipe also my soul. He washes his hands after helping somebody. Not because helping is wrong, but because he does not want the residue of it, the ownership, the small warm claim that attaches itself to whoever did the helping. And to be fair to him, he does say what he thinks help ought to look like. If, however, thou hast a suffering friend, then be a resting place for his suffering, like a hard bed, however, a camp bed, thus wilt thou serve him best. A camp bed. Somewhere to lie down for a night. Not somewhere to move into. The recognition sign is tense. Listen to which tense they use about your worst year. If it is still the present tense, it is not over for them, and it was never meant to be. The fifth one is good. Everybody agrees that they're good. That is precisely the difficulty. They cover the shift. They organize the collection. They are the one who stayed late when nobody else would. And there is a sentence you have heard from them, usually about 10 minutes into a conversation that has been going badly. After everything I have done for you. The strange thing about that sentence is that it is almost always true. They did do it. That is what makes it unanswerable in the moment. Nietzsche gave this chapter the plainest title of the six, the Virtuous, and he opens it with a joke at their expense. They want to be paid besides. Besides. Meaning on top of. They have already had the thing itself, the doing of it, and they would now like the invoice on it as well. Ye want to be paid besides, ye virtuous ones. Ye want reward for virtue, and heaven for earth, and eternity for your today. And then the image that settles it. Ye love your virtue as a mother loveth her child, but when did one hear of a mother wanting to be paid for her love? That is the whole test, and it takes a second to apply. Was the good thing the point, or was the good thing the receipt? The rest of that chapter is a gallery, and 2 of the portraits are unusually good. And others are there who are like 8-day clocks when wound up, they tick, and want people to call ticking virtue. That is the person whose entire claim is regularity. They arrive on time. They cause no problems. Nothing in their life has ever been risked on anything, and this is offered to you as a moral position rather than a temperament. And then the ones in the swamp. We bite no one, and go out of the way of him who would bite, and in all matters we have the opinion that is given us. In all matters we have the opinion that is given us. That is a person describing their own harmlessness with pride. Having no opinion of your own is not innocence. It is vacancy, wearing innocence as a coat. The sharpest line in the chapter is 4 words long. I am just revenged. And here I have to be fair to him, because all of this could be heard as an attack on ordinary decency, and it is not. He says outright what he wants instead, in the same chapter. That your very self be in your action, as the mother is in the child, let that be your formula of virtue. Yourself in the action. Not yourself standing beside the action, holding a clipboard, waiting. The recognition sign is timing. Real generosity is finished when it is finished. The other kind has a second half, and it arrives much later, almost always during an argument about something else. The 6th one lives in the same chapter as the first, a few lines further down. Nietzsche does not give him an insult. He gives him a job title. He calls him a representer. In the world even the best things are worthless without those who represent them, those representers, the people call great men. You know one. Everybody in your industry knows this person is exceptional, and if you sat down tonight and tried to name a single thing they have actually made, you would be there for a while. They are in every photograph of the project. They speak first in the meeting and last in the meeting. When it goes well they say we, warmly, and mean themselves. And here is what makes them almost impossible to argue with. They are not lying. Spirit, a the actor, but little conscience of the spirit. He believeth always in that wherewith he maketh believe most strongly, in himself. He believes it. At the moment he says it, it is entirely true for him. The sincerity reads as real because it is real, for the length of the sentence. Tomorrow he hath a new belief, and the day after, one still newer. Sharp perceptions hath he, like the people, and changeable humours. Then Nietzsche writes the sentence this chapter is really built on, and it is the least angry line in any of the 6. It is not a complaint. It is a description of how attention behaves. Around the devisers of new values revolveth the world, invisibly it revolveth. But around the actors revolve the people and the glory, such is the course of things. Such is the course of things. No outrage. No demand that it be otherwise. The one who makes something moves the world, and the movement cannot be seen while it is happening. The one who performs it gets the room, the crowd, and the glory. That is the arrangement, and knowing it stops you being astonished by it every time. To upset, that meaneth with him to prove. To drive mad, that meaneth with him to convince. And blood is counted by him as the best of all arguments. Blood as the best of all arguments. Whatever produced the strongest reaction was therefore the truest thing said in the room. That is the entire theory of persuasion of a man who has never had to still be right the following year. A truth which only glideth into fine ears, he calleth falsehood and trumpery. Verily, he believeth only in gods that make a great noise in the world. And set against all that noise, one quiet line. Slow is the experience of all deep fountains, long have they to wait until they know what hath fallen into their depths. The recognition sign is memory. Try to remember what this person believed a year ago. If there is nothing solid enough there to disagree with, only a run of very confident weather reports, then you are watching a performance, and the performance is not being given for your benefit. There is a 7th thing in these chapters, and it is not another type. Without it, all of this is just a list of people to resent, and lists like that have never improved a single life. Not one of the 6 is a villain. Nietzsche says so himself, in the strangest line in the Marketplace chapter, and he says it twice inside one sentence in case you missed it. Blood they would have from thee in all innocence, blood their bloodless souls crave for, and they sting, therefore, in all innocence. In all innocence. Every one of them believes his own account of himself. The tarantula genuinely believes he wants justice. The pitiful one genuinely believes she is kind. The actor genuinely believes what he is saying this week. Nobody has to be lying for any of it to work. Which is exactly why it is dangerous. You cannot catch out somebody who is not pretending. And the damage is never an event. Thou art not stone, but already hast thou become hollow by the numerous drops. Nothing they do would survive being written down. Any single instance sounds like nothing at all, which is why you never mentioned it, which is why it continued. Then Zarathustra says something you would not expect from a man who has just spent 6 chapters describing these people. Raise no longer an arm against them. Innumerable are they, and it is not thy lot to be a fly-flap. He does not tell you to fight them. He tells you that fighting them is a career, and a small one, and that it would use up everything you had. And then he says the thing that changes the shape of all 6. In thy presence they feel themselves small, and their baseness gleameth and gloweth against thee in invisible vengeance. Yea, my friend, the bad conscience art thou of thy neighbours, for they are unworthy of thee. You were never the target. You were the mirror. The one who needs an audience needs you because you do not seem to need one. The preacher of death needs your plan to fail because he set his own down years ago. The judge needs a verdict because he has never built anything that could be judged. The pitiful one needs you low because she has no idea what to do with you standing up. The virtuous one keeps the receipt because the deed on its own was never enough. And the actor performs because there is nothing behind the performance. Every one of the 6 is organized around something they are missing. 6 chapters. 6 people. Not one of them evil, not one of them harmless, and not one of them qualified to tell you anything about who you are. They will keep arriving. They arrived for Nietzsche. They arrived for whoever was writing before him. They will be at the next table you sit down at, warm and plausible and entirely sincere. Innumerable are they. It is not your lot to be a fly-flap. And drops only ever hollow out a person who did not know they were falling.